All right. Well, thank you, Ash, and we're so happy to be here from the College of Western Idaho. We are mostly in Southwest Idaho here around Boise, Meridian, Nampa, if you're familiar with Idaho at all, which I don't expect any of you to be unless you're from here. But we do have one of our members who's at Open Ed. There's a couple faculty from CWI, but one in particular on this call, Liza Long. And so we're just here to share today with you about Open Ed resources and how we've kind of had a journey at CWI around making sure the culture around OER is a positive and growing one. And so as we go along, each of us will kind of share our part of that. You can see what we're hoping that you'll come away with is a model that you can use at your community college or other institutions to kind of grow that culture around OER adoption. And so a little bit about us. As we introduce ourselves, I'm also going to stick a link into the chat for a form that you can start filling out. But basically, we're here as folks who have been on this OER journey for about 3 years now. We were fortunate to get a state grant for this, which that grant is now kind of running out, but we still want to be involved with OER work. So we're trying to think, how do we keep this going? My name is Greg Wilson, and I'm the Assistant Dean of General Education and also the OER Coordinator. And then as you see your name on the list, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Susan Aydelotte, and I am a professor of mathematics at CWI.
I'm Jason Roach. I'm one of the librarians. Specifically, I've got responsibility for instruction and OER support.
I'm Liza Long. I can't remember how to unmute myself. Sorry. I'm an associate professor of English. I'm the Idaho State Board of Education Open representative.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about us. If you haven't put in the chat who you are and where you're from, please do that now. And as well, please click on the link that I put in the chat. This is just a quick form that you can be filling out as we start talking about what's going on your campus in your situation around open education. This form, we've given this presentation a few times, and we're always asking participants to fill this out. So we're collecting data in an open way, of course, around these kind of topics. Why we want to use OER, what are some of the drawbacks or barriers sometimes to using OER, and this just lets us know more about where you're at. And so Liza, why don't you speak to that a little bit, as you are, as we say, kind of a subject matter expert here at College of Western Idaho.
Speaking about OER adoption, I was just looking, Greg, I have the link to the form. I was hoping maybe I could share out some of the responses, but I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
The actual response link, so I'm not sure where we own that. If you have that and could pull it up, it'd be amazing. But yeah, so OER adoption, Greg has actually been amazing at leading this, and so we're just really excited kind of to present our model and how we've been able to grow our program. But yeah, Greg, I'll keep hunting for the all I have is the link to take the form. I know somewhere it's
okay. Yeah, Susan, I don't know if you have that, and I'm sorry we're not prepared with that. But yeah, we'll try and share those links out.
Just keep going.
These are some of the things that folks usually mention, and we've compiled this list from some of our previous meetings. And so I don't know if any of these resonate with you. Susan, do you have the link to show what current responses we've gotten?
I do not.
Okay. Well, as you look at this list, and just anyone can speak out about these things in your experience.
I have it, Greg, I found it.
Keep
okay, going
great.
though. I'll pull it up just a sec.
Okay, once you get that going, I'll stop sharing so you can kind of share in real time. But a lot of times when we've talked to people, their faculty especially, they're not sure, is there good quality resources that are open for my class? Is it going to take me a ton of time? Answer is yes. And there's other things that can be challenges. So take it away, Liza. Here's some of our real-time responses. Liza, you're on mute.
Sorry, guys.
There you go.
I have the biggest first world problem. I'm so used to 2 screens.
I know it.
I apologize, you guys. Well, here it is. Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising at all to see that time is a big concern for many of you. And I'm also not surprised to see concerns about quality. So a lot of these things are kind of mapping to what we see at other institutions. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we've addressed that at our own campus today. Hopefully it will give you some ideas as you continue to advocate for OER at your own campus.
Yeah, thanks. And for sure, time is always one of our top things shared, and we all know that. We appreciate you having time to talk about time with us today. But all of those things kind of add together to make it sometimes a challenging atmosphere when we're trying to get others on board with OER. So what have we tried to do at the College of Western Idaho? Basically, it's centered around 3 different things. We want to make sure that faculty and staff, when appropriate, have opportunities to learn more about OER. And so we do schedule like bi-monthly drop-in meetings for anyone who wants to, if they have questions about OER, if they're trying to adopt OER for their specific courses. We just have a time where anyone can come and ask those questions. And so I usually lead that, but the other OER champions are in there as well. And we do have great support from our learning management system support through the Center of Teaching and Learning, and also library, as Jason is here today to attest. One thing I would just say, as we talk about building that culture, trying to support our faculty, I think one of the really lucky things that happened with us is we already had some faculty who were invested in OER when we didn't have money to support those faculty with OER. So they were already doing this work. Liza was one of them. Susan, I would say, is another as well, and there's others. And so my advice to institutions is wherever your OER initiative is housed, make sure there's those leading faculty. We had a state initiative, and so all 4 community colleges got the same amount of funding, but I can tell you that I believe our work at the College of Western Idaho proceeded as quickly as it did because we had those faculty already invested in that. So a lot of times if you're in like instructional design or in the library, to convince faculty of the benefits of OER is sometimes a little difficult. If you have faculty who are already passionate about that, or if you can find those faculty, even if your initiative is centered in something like instructional design, centering your OER process around those faculty and giving them the voice to share that out to the other faculty, we feel like that has been a really effective model. Now, how do you find those faculty? Well, hopefully they're coming to you. Hopefully you're finding them just by the questions that they're asking and meetings that you might be having. But what I would recommend is that if you have the option is to kind of start with course buyouts for those faculty. Give them a course release to develop OER, to spend time with other faculty to find OER for their courses, and that's kind of the model that we've done. So all the OER mentors or champions get a 3-credit course release. It probably should be more than that, but that's what we were able to, negotiate. And then they use their time kind of spreading that OER culture and goodness around to people that they meet in their department meetings, in their school meetings, and at an institution-wide course. And so because of that, we were able to create multiple Z-degree pathways. Currently there's 4. We're hoping that there's more Z-degree. It just means no cost textbooks from beginning to end with all required courses. And then trying to get as many faculty to hear about OER, finding opportunities to meet with those faculty and saying, hey, have you considered this as an option? So that's kind of the model we've been using. And then here's some examples of things that have happened because of that model. I think, Jason, you're going to talk about the library end of this.
Yeah, I think Greg's correct. All of this means most to OER curious faculty when it comes from teaching colleagues. So that said, we try to help in the library. My predecessor was on board at the time where the state started providing support for press books, and that became mostly for better, but for better or for worse, our default platform for authoring, at least, and many other purposes as well. So he created a press book for training, which is great. It's a great place to be able to create a chapter and drop somebody in and have them follow some simple instructions to get their feet wet. That said, I think one of the misconceptions that faculty sometimes have is that OER means I've got to do a ton of writing and I'm going to spend, endless hours and months, perhaps unremunerated, creating this. So we do try to provide some guides as well to OER discovery and notions of ways to leverage fair use and ways to encourage faculty to view it as something other than a long solo endeavor. So yeah, I happily usually get to be in on some of the conversations around OER and at the in the early stages, and along with some of our school champions, and troubleshoot for people in as many fronts as possible. I created a cover for somebody day before yesterday because that was the last thing pending. So, do you have a photograph? Yes, they did. Great. Here's your cover.
And let me just say, we've been really fortunate to have Jason as that advocate in the library and kind of over the Pressbooks part of it. I am very low-level, entry-level Pressbooks user. Without the support of Jason, I think a lot of the books that you see, or I can just say, those books that you see on our Pressbook site would not be there. And so, Jason, we would have loved to have a full-time OER librarian, but we do not. And so Jason does this as part of his work with faculty, and he's kind of agreed to take that on. So again, it's kind of that piece where if you find people who can put that into their workload and they're passionate about it, it's a good fit sometimes when there's not always money and specific positions to do this with. So thank you, Jason. Susan, you've also had an experience creating a lot of our textbooks in math, and I would say getting our Z degree pathway, our low-cost textbook pathway, was most difficult in our math classes because we use an inclusive access product called Include Ed, and a lot of faculty love the homework support that gives, and so Susan was one of those, the only one of those faculty who said, you know what, we could do this using OER, and I will use another homework platform, My Open Math. I think I'm going to let you talk about it, Susan, but just again, that shows you how much influence one person can have if they're passionate about it. We now have 3 math faculty that are following in using Susan's model for math. So thank you, Susan. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Susan Aydelotte. I am an OER champion, and that means that I invite, I encourage, I support, I mentor, and maybe the most important and most significant way that I've been able to help faculty is that I share my resources. So it's important to me as a math instructor to have both a free textbook and a free platform for students to practice their homework exercises. So I chose OpenStax textbooks. There's a link to OpenStax there. And then I also chose My Open Math as the homework platform. I was able to create courses in My Open Math that align to 3 different textbooks: Contemporary Mathematics, Algebra and Trigonometry, 2nd edition, and then Calculus Volume 1. And if you happen to be a math instructor and you have an account with My Open Math, you can copy my courses using those course IDs that are on the slide there. But like I said, I think the most significance that I've been able to make in terms of the OER at CWI is sharing those resources with other faculty. Let's see, all of those courses have been taught by another faculty member at CWI. One instructor is now creating another course for technical math, and then a second faculty member is interested in creating something for an introductory statistics course. So to me, that says that their experience in My Open Math has been adequate enough that they're willing to create a new course in My Open Math and use free textbooks. So having those resources to share with faculty is a great way to get them onboarded. And once they're comfortable using that OER, then they can modify the courses and they can even develop new OER for other courses. So please do share these resources with the math faculty at your institution. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Susan. And I'll just put a little plug in for Susan as well. She learned how to use H5P as well to make sure that questions are along in those OpenStax textbooks for students, and those are also available through H5P. Liza.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. So I teach English at the College of Western Idaho, and I also want to mention, when you think about adopting this, when you look at our Z degrees that I linked to, 2 of those 3 were philosophy and general studies, and I was fortunate to get some time to be the department chair that oversaw those programs. So finding department chairs or allies at the administrative level, I think, can be really beneficial because I was able to bring my faculty on board and get those programs to no-cost textbooks or low-cost textbooks pretty quickly. English has been a harder nut to crack, as you might imagine, but we're doing it. So this took a lot more buy-in. I had to survey our faculty multiple times, get their feedback on things, but we have now moved to this Write What Matters. It's a modular state platform resource. So it's not like if you were to print this book out, it would not work for you. So we have to do some training with faculty. We use Ryan's Bookie McBookface to do it. But basically, faculty choose what they want out of this modular platform resource, and they're able to create a book that they want to teach with. And we have 100% of our English 101 faculty, which is, I don't even know how many sections, so many sections of English 101 at our college that are now using this zero-cost textbook. We're working on English 102. We still have a few people who really like They Say, I Say by Graf and Birkenstein. I used to teach that book, so I really like it too. I'm sympathetic, but we're working on English 102. So that's my goal for this year, to keep bringing people along with that. Part of my success in English, I think, has been offering those webinars and trainings, and the fact that we do have this really robust resource with Write What Matters. So I think that's been really helpful for us, and we're just really excited about that. And also, we've now been able to develop and implement some writing with AI training that we're rolling out. So, and if you follow me anywhere else, AI is kind of my jam. So feel free to reach out to me if you ever have questions about writing and artificial intelligence. Yeah, Greg, I think it would be good to wrap up, and then maybe we could take some questions.
Definitely, yeah. And so just a few last resources. We did leave you with a pitch deck, which I will stick a link into the chat for that, but it's also on your slides. So if you downloaded the slide link, which I'll put back in there as well. This basically kind of the presentation we gave today, you can adapt it and use it at your institution. So we're leaving you with that tool, and hopefully you'll use it to kind of create that OER momentum at your school. This is our contact information, and we just thank you so much for being here. And we do have a few minutes for questions. So any questions or thoughts about the presentation, where you're at your school, what you would like to see, or questions that my wonderful champions can answer?
No questions. Gosh, guys. I'm trying to put links in the chat too for those of you.
Yes. Here's the link to the pitch deck.
Okay.
And then I'll put the link to the complete presentation one more time as well for if any folks joined a little later.
You know, if we don't have any questions yet, I want to say one reason I've loved this conference. I attended a fantastic presentation yesterday that featured some student voices on this, Greg, and I just feel like that's something that we'll be able to incorporate. I love coming
Yes.
back with ideas, and this was a presentation that 2 students largely gave about student advocacy, and I just feel like that's a fantastic piece of the puzzle that we could absolutely
Yes.
bring into our work.
Yeah, I love that. I do think that is another leg of that stool of building OER culture, students advocating for OER. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I know it's a little later in the day for everyone, but we
more
appreciate
student
your
panels.
attendance here.
Ash put in a plug for
Great.
another student panel tomorrow. Yeah, it's really great to hear their voices and see what they're able to do. So,
Yeah. Other
yeah.
thoughts, maybe other innovative practices that we're not doing that we can start doing. They've got 1 minute left if you want to put it in the chat or
Yeah.
unmute.
I'm really just looking through the chat to see if there's anything. I do want to highlight that Sarah shared they call it fair dealing in Canada, or fair use copyright stuff. And also, just, I guess, since we have a little extra time, shout out to the librarians, right?
Yes,
Are any librarians
definitely.
here? Like Jason has been so instrumental for my work in, you know, I'll go to him with fair use questions or really any questions I have. So, and also we're really fortunate to have Pressbooks. It's been a great platform for us.
Yes, that was also a state purchase, so our institution did not have to purchase that license, and that's been beneficial. So we should obviously say thank you to our State Board of Education, Jonathan Lashley, TJ Bliss, and others who have actually really tried to support OER in Idaho, and they're doing a fantastic job. I see Bob Casper on the call. Hi, Bob.
Oh, hi, Bob.
I don't know if you remember me from Boise State, but there's a lot of people here that I wish we had time to talk more with. I think our time is actually coming to a close. However, I'll stay, and if others from our presentation group can stay too, if there's other thoughts or comments, we can go a little later.
Yeah, Sarah had a good question. She said they're doing open champions at Calgary. Do we have any criteria we used? We did, Greg. How did you choose us?
Wait now.
We had to apply, I think.
Yes, so there was an application. I basically asked what OERs you've adopted. So that was a minimum requirement that you had to have adopted an OER in one of your classes already. And then what specific fields you might have expertise in. So for example, Susan was learning how to use H5P. Liza was Creative Commons licensed, and so she knew a lot about Creative Commons. And so that's kind of the methodology we used to select. I don't think I had a rubric, but I had those things in the questions, and then we picked from there. So that's a great question. I can try and dig that form up for you if you'd like.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think we are at time, Greg. Yay. Thanks you guys for being here.